know that feeling, right? When you're in a workplace that is just buzzing with energy, everyone's running around, keyboards are clacking, it feels incredibly busy. But at the end of the day, you look back and wonder, did we actually get anything important done? It's that constant hum, that vibration we're taught to believe is progress. But what if it's not? What if it's just noise? Well, today we're going to dive into a story that really gets to the heart of this problem. It's a kind of parable for our times, all about a tech startup called NextGen. Now, they're just days away from a massive launch. But underneath all that frantic energy, a total architectural failure is taking root. This is the story of what we're calling the 7 sins of the digital age. So let's picture it. We're at NextGen headquarters. It's early in the morning. The office is clean, almost sterile, totally calm. But you can feel it in the air. This isn't the calm before a successful storm. It's the prelude to absolute chaos. There's this sense of dread because the team has completely lost its way, and they can no longer tell the difference between just moving around and actually making meaningful progress. So where does a failure like this even begin? Well, it starts small. It starts with the individual, with the complete erosion of focus. We're going to start by looking at the first group of sins, the ones that rack up a kind of cognitive debt. And trust me, that's a debt that always comes due. So let's meet our first character in this drama, Leo. Leo's a developer, and he's sitting at this command center of 3 monitors, just a blur of activity. We have a fancy term for what he's doing, context switching, but really it's just a sanitized way of saying his attention is being violently fragmented. And every time he jumps from his code, to Slack, to email, and back again, he's not just losing a few seconds, he's bleeding cognitive capital. And this chaos actually has a name. In computer science, it's called thrashing. It's when a system gets so overwhelmed that it spends all of its energy just trying to manage its tasks instead of, actually doing them. And that is exactly what's happening inside Leo's head. His mind is just cluttered with half-started projects and unfinished code. This is our very first sin, inventory. All this unfinished work is a kind of mental inventory, and it is weighing him and the whole project down. And just when the pressure is at its absolute peak, in walks Marcus, the company's visionary leader. And of course, he has a brilliant new idea. He wants a system to be able to guess the customer's mood. Emotion-aware recommendations, he calls it. It sounds amazing, it sounds innovative, and it is completely disconnected from the reality of their situation. And this right here perfectly captures the second sin, overprocessing. Just look at this breakdown. On one side, you've got the ornamental, the shiny new features Marcus is proposing. All they do is add complexity and create maintenance nightmares down the road. But on the other side, you have the essential work, fixing the core engine, making sure the launch is actually stable. The team is being seduced by the glitter of the ornamental because it lets them avoid the hard, necessary work of the essential.
So you see, the problem isn't just about one developer's bad habits. Oh no, it's baked right into the company's DNA, into its very process. This is the part of the system where all that good intention and all that forward momentum just goes to die.
So by the afternoon, the team is stuck. They're having a debate they've definitely had before, but nobody can remember what they decided last time because nothing was ever written down. This is the sin of defect. It's like a corporate Groundhog Day. Without any record of past decisions, they're just doomed to repeat their own forgotten mistakes, wasting days rediscovering things they already figured out. By Wednesday, the code is finally, quote-unquote, ready. But ready for what exactly? Well, it enters this bureaucratic maze. Look at this. Every single step, compliance, security, stakeholders, is a handoff where critical context gets lost. This is the sin of transportation, just moving work around for no good reason. And with every handoff, you get the sin of motion. All the extra clicks, the meetings, the updates that add zero value. The work isn't actually progressing, it's just being shuffled around until all that's left is an empty ticket stuck on pending. And that brings us to Thursday, a day of nothing. The team is completely paralyzed. These are brilliant, capable people, a high-performance engine ready to roar. But they're stuck in a traffic jam created by someone else's bureaucracy, waiting for a signature, for an email, for a green light that might never come. This is the profoundly soul-crushing waste of the sin of waiting. So, this entire week of chaos, distraction, and delay has all been leading to this one moment. All that cognitive debt, all that fractured attention, well, the bill is finally coming due. At this point, the crash isn't just a risk, it's a mathematical inevitability. It's Friday, it's launch day, the stage is set. The investors are in the room, and you can practically smell the expensive cologne and the expectation of a miracle. The team is about to show off the product of their week of high-frequency activity.
And there it is. The demo starts, and the whole thing just dies. A simple, stark message on the screen that says it all. The miracle everyone was waiting for has just imploded in front of a live audience.
Now, here's the most important part of all of this. This wasn't some random glitch. It wasn't a surprise. This was the only possible conclusion to their week. It was the sum total of all those sins we talked about: the thrashing, the overprocessing, the defects, the waiting. The failure was baked into their process from the very start.
But the story doesn't just end there in failure. Because in the quiet aftermath of the crash, a really powerful solution begins to emerge. And it's not about adding some new process or buying a new tool. It's about the simple, almost radical act of subtraction. One of the lead engineers, Elena, stays behind after everyone has left. She's just staring at the whiteboard where Marcus's emotion-aware star is still drawn. It doesn't look like innovation anymore. Now it just looks like a scar, a monument to all the things they didn't need, which cost them the one thing they did. And then she picks up the eraser, and in this incredibly powerful symbolic moment, she just wipes the entire board clean. She's not just erasing a drawing, no. She's performing an exorcism on the entire culture of what-ifs and secondary priorities and all the glittering distractions that led them to this disaster. Before she leaves the empty room, she writes a single, simple command on that clean slate. Finish one thing. That's it. That's the antidote. The cure for all 7 sins. It's not some complex methodology. It's a profound act of will. It's the courage to actually finish one thing before you dare to start the next. And so that really leaves us with a question to ask ourselves. In our own work, in our own lives, surrounded by that constant buzz of activity that we so often mistake for progress, what's the ornamental and what is the essential? What is the one thing that truly, desperately needs to be finished?